Hi, I'm Yassenn again, and this is part 4 of 4 of my full-length, blown-up, awesome, amazing distilling tutorial. This section will discuss some advanced tactics to really touch up on the concepts we've talked about in previous videos and make our distilling sessions as smooth as possible, allowing us to go above and beyond CC12s. Alright, the first point I want to make about spices is that if you get on a board and you see something like this, you should probably just hit the dismiss button and leave game, because each of these spices, all 8 of them, count as a negative score bonus on your score, which hurts a bunch. So we're just gonna go find a different board to go to. So spices at the start of the game don't really have a big impact on your playstyle. You used to be able to work around them quite easily. But once you start getting into the mid game, they become more of an issue, because like for this one, I'm going to have to move something up if I want the black to go above the spice. I could instead just have pulled all the blacks down, but sometimes there's just too many blacks on the bottom, and might need one up above like I did there as well. Now this spice at the bottom is going to prevent me from being able to do rows properly. I can't get back to the start, so instead I have to use multiple browns here. It's going to end up being a lot of browns to get the blacks high enough where I can fill that in, and at least then all these browns are easy to drag away. To fill in this slot, instead of trying to like do pairs with these all the way over, which would take forever, what we preferably do is just fill this in early, and then we don't have to worry about it. But so I guess when you work with spices, you have to remember to think ahead, because you might need more than that one row sitting there to be able to properly deal with your spice. So I went ahead and actually slowed down the video here to try to show you how I work around this spice using pairs with horizontal and vertical combined together really efficiently. Now, because I'm a show off, here it is in actual speed. This would be a simple way to do the puzzle a bit more quickly. Now that you're a relatively advanced distiller, you'll probably be able to actually finish the start of the board, which is when your puzzle would look a bit like this one. Now, instead of burning these rows one at a time and trying to clear these pieces as they come, one row at a time, what you can do to quicken up the pace a bit is burn maybe 3 or 4 rows at a time. And now instead of dealing with like one piece, you have this big swarm of pieces to deal with, and you can deal with them all at the same time, which is a bit quicker than doing one row at a time. Along those same lines, another way to do your puzzle a bit more quickly is when you go to send up your first CC, instead of doing the one row at a time, you can burn several rows here as well, maybe going all the way up to CC6 or CC7 before you actually start working with the whites to fill in more CCs on the end. It all depends on how fast you are. The important thing is to just not overdo it, of course, because then you'd have extra whites on your board that you wouldn't get into your CC, and that'd just be a mess. This tactic is about using the right side of the board to make your sorting a bit easier, On this board, even right at the start, you can see there's a row of browns here, which this is kind of like a modified version of rows, but you can just grab a black and drag it through these browns. And if you do it again, we'll get the browns low enough that it can be dragged up, and everything up there is all pretty now, and it was a very simple way of doing it. Another way to use the right side of the board to quicken up your clear a bit is, like in this case, this black, if I drag it down, it'll be right there, which is just a bit, you know, it's just one row too low. And we didn't really have a brown to move it up, since we want to keep this one brown here as our extra piece for further rows that might spawn. So how we can fix this is, if we pull this down far enough, we can just grab one of the browns in here and pull it through, and then the brown can go in the slot. And we can actually do the same thing with this brown up here, because we want to, you know, get the pieces in the middle instead of filling in the outer row slots first. So if we drag a black through and pull it down like that, then we have these upper slots open for the next browns that spawn. And we're going to do the same thing with the blacks down here. Just take this black and move it up so that the slots are open, and that prevents us from having to take these two that just spawned and get them all the way up to here. We only have to get them to these lower ones, like that. And finally, just a couple little things to look out for as you're clearing your boards. First off, always check for rows of all browns. Rows of all browns will go up, they'll mess up your CC, and the most common place for them to happen is right at the start of the puzzle, because you're clearing a lot of rows really quickly. You don't pay much attention to each row, and if you have a lot of browns on your board, there's a good chance you'll accidentally make a row of all browns. So just be careful about that. Alright, next, when you're at this point of the game where you're debating whether or not you could fill in another row, or if you should just move this black away and start setting up your CCs now, the first thing you want to look at is, how many blacks do I have? In this case, there are 7 blacks on the board. But the next thing you want to look at is, how easily could these blacks get moved over to this row. In this case, I could only easily fill in 4 of these slots with blacks, which that means I'd have my 5 blacks and 4 whites, so this row would for sure be sent down to the furnace. So it is safe to try to do this row, as long as I focus on my blacks first. This little thing is kind of something I forgot in my early video, part 2, the start and end, but we'll just throw it in as an advanced tactic and it'll all be okay, right? So when you're doing the end of the puzzle the way I showed, where the blacks bridge up to the top and the browns are down on the inside, you want to keep some browns on this upper part of the board as well, because that way when a white spawns up here, you're able to get them out. If you don't do that, you won't be able to get the whites out. They'll kind of be stuck up there unless you get other whites to get them out. Yeah. Another little tip that will make moving pieces around the board a bit more efficient. This doesn't work in the simulator, but on the actual game client, you don't actually have to go up and then down to move a piece. Instead, you could just make a straight line with your mouse, which I cannot make straight lines. But yeah, my movement in game would be something like that, to move this black into the white slot. And there you go. That's all there is to know about distilling, sorta. I know I didn't cover everything in my tutorials, which is why if you have any questions, feel free to contact me in-game. I am more than willing to offer advice about distilling, or if you're willing to make a video of your own, I will gladly nitpick at it and tell you just how bad of a distiller you are in hopes it'll teach you something. Well, see you sometime. Or never. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Bye!